Welcome to the White Rabbit YouTube channel. Today we're going to be doing Introductory Rant Part 2. I feel like I missed a lot of content that I want to just briefly touch over before we finally dive into this work. Um, so firstly, um, really what this is me expressing myself and doing what I want to do to try to help others. Um, and then one other thing I want to kind of go over is that, I'm practicing talking to a camera essentially because I'm talking to you through this camera. And so, whereas I don't have that one on one dialogue that can get my brain going, I need to think a little more and have all the information myself and try to get to the points I want to get to without having another person there. So, next thing is I was a little skeptical about what I wanted to release because depending on your stage of ego development is kind of what you're going to be able to understand or accept or reject or think I'm crazy or whatever it is that if I do things in a way that tiptoes, I feel like I also won't be genuine to myself. So I don't think I'm going to do any tiptoeing or bullshit. I'm just going to tell you if it's a more advanced topic and you should or shouldn't get into it yet. But just wanted to get that across. Another thing is I'm going to do these in one take for the same fact that I want to be more genuine. So if I mess up, if I do these things, I mean, you're just going to see it and live with it. And I'm not going to cut it or anything. I just want you guys to also see the process I'm going through when I'm making these videos. So if I ever need to take a break and take a drink, then maybe I'll pause it and start it again. But for the most part, I'm just going to do it all in one take. um, Another thing I wanted to go over is accept what resonates with you, because I'm probably going to say things that you're not going to agree with, which maybe it's because you're rejecting it, or maybe because you just don't accept what it is. So, or maybe understand what I'm trying to convey. So, accept what resonates, reject what doesn't. Um, Simple as that. I'm also going to talk about longer videos versus shorter videos. So, I did a longer video for Introductory Rant 1, and I'm doing part 2 now. And they are longer videos than my original introduction. But the thing is to get information to you. I can't just do a short 3 to 5 minute video that everyone wants because it's so quick. But also realize that not everything can be explained so simply. I can't just I can tell you the answers you're looking for, but they aren't going to make sense without some background information leading up to it so that you can see the answer I'm giving you. So it's just going to have to be that way, that some of these videos are longer. And I know that's not desirable, but that's just the way it is. We're going to talk about, let's see, what I'm doing here is I'm just a healing guide. That's it. I'm giving information and techniques that you can take and use yourself and see if it works, see if it doesn't, and just here to do what I can for others. The thing is it's not necessary for me to do that, but I want to. And so that's what I'm going to do for those who are willing to listen. As long as I can illuminate one, then I've illuminated them all. So we're going to talk about dangers of this work, of spirituality or meditation, breath work, whatever it is that you're doing, consciousness work, however, is that it does bring up a lot of trauma. It brings up a lot of pain. It is very threatening, and it gives your ego kind of a backlash, which is just your sense of self, pretty much your survival. Everything you know is pretty much your ego. Not even if it's the people who are most advanced that can transcend the ego and see that there's much more, and that the ego is just hiding that from you. We'll get more into that later, but and then I'm going to talk about real philosophy. Philosophia from Greek, and it actually means the love of wisdom. And that's what we're doing here. I love the wisdom, the truth, and absolute love, and all of these things. And so I'm pursuing these deeper and deeper to really understand the existential meaning of everything that is going on here. Um, so whether you're service to yourself or service to others, that's fine. Whether you're going to use others for your own gain, there's nothing inherently wrong with any decision. There are no mistakes. There's no certain way to be. We'll get into why that actually is and how you can be okay with all the shit that's going on around you. Um, so, we're going to talk about intelligence over wisdom. So, intelligence is, the basic information whereas wisdom is, it's a really deep topic. I could go over what wisdom is in an hour, but to simplify it is the ability to know what is right or what is true. And intellect and wisdom can also go hand in hand, but they can also be polar opposites of each other because anybody can memorize a whole bunch of information and get the answers out of the back of the textbook. But if you don't do the work to arrive at those answers using your wisdom, then you don't really understand the situation. You're just able to memorize it, keep it in your brain, and then pair it to everyone else. Um, we're going to be going over, and another thing is that all of these are going to be videos. They're going to be their own separate video, but I just want to touch over them and kind of get it out of the way before we really start this work. I'll release a video soon that will actually be the start of this work. I actually had a friend of mine say, he's trying to do the spirituality and he doesn't know where to start because there's so much content out there that it's almost impossible to be like, okay, where do I start? Where's the step-by-step process? But the thing is just like life, there is no step-by-step process. Is you got to determine what you need. I can't tell what development of ego you are. I'm here providing information, so you need to decide that for yourself. Where you need to start, what's the best information for you, what are the things that are hindering you most in life, and then go off of that. You have to create your own start. I can't do it for you. I'm going to try, that's for sure, is that I'm going to release things in as much of an order as I can, but of course I'm going to release advanced with practical because not always am I just going to have people who are starting this work. I'm also going to have people who are intermediate or advanced through this work. And so I want to help diversify the content that I'm releasing. So one thing I missed last time that I was hoping to get this time at least is judgments and projections. Is the judgments and projections we put on the world is just a mirror to ourselves. So you may think of me as someone who's crazy, why are you doing this stuff? Or you're not as good of a guy as you think doing all this, or whatever it is. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not taking pride in my wisdom here. And nor do you ever really know someone. Everybody's changing. Anybody isn't even the same person they were 5 minutes ago. So you can't necessarily judge and project yourself onto other people. All it does is show you what you need to work on because it also limits you. Because if you judge and project onto other people, that is going to be almost rules and principles that you set for yourself that will hinder you in the future. I'm going to talk about the present moment and how the present moment there's nothing wrong with the present moment. Now I can say that, but the thing is the present moment isn't your mind. It isn't the ego or you thinking about the past or future. The thing is that in your direct experience of consciousness, which is all you know, there is no past. There's only memories of past. The future does not exist. And the eternal present is always moving. So it almost seems like you can't capture it. And with the ego, you can't because it's always living in the future or the past, whether it's a minute, a second, an hour, a week, a year, whatever it is. So I want to stress that for sure. A good one. Moralization and why growth why guilt won't help you grow. So moralization is, the morals that you put on yourself to that you stand by because you feel it's the right thing to do. But those things can also limit you in being the best person you can be out of absolute goodness out of your heart. Because if I tell myself I will never make someone sad again, which sounds amazing, that you'll never make someone sad again, that's awesome. But the thing is sometimes love requires conflict. It requires sitting someone down and saying, "Hey, you're fucking up. You need to like change what you're doing and just be better, and I'm gonna be here for you through it." And it's probably gonna make them sad or have some sort of negative reaction, but that's what someone needs in the moment. So be careful about how you moralize and how it prevents you from being as good as you can be. Now, why guilt won't help you grow is think about it. Anybody who's guilted someone in the past for what they've done doesn't truly grow. They hold that on themselves and it's a trauma and they can never forgive themselves. They can never accept what happened. And the thing is if you guilt yourself doing it, you aren't just not doing something out of the goodness of your heart. You're doing it out of the guilt that you're going to give yourself or others are going to give to you. So the best way to help you grow instead of guilting yourself to be better, to do better, is accept what happened and forgive yourself, forgive the other people, and just love the situation for what it was. Because now you're able to move past it all and not let it hinder you further in life. I want to talk about energy centers, um, also known as the chakras. It's a very good system to use just to see it's like a roadmap for yourself to be able to tell what things you need to work on in your stage of development. Um, so I'll be going over those later in the future. We're going to be talking about synchronicities as well. So the further you go on in this work, the more synchronicities you're going to see in your life around you. Things are going to be matching up. And the thing is it's going to happen in a way that you can understand. So if you're someone who is particularly used to numbers, like you always see the same time on a clock or whatever it may be, it's going to show you what you need to know in the way that you can understand it. I know that may seem radical, but all this work is, and that's why I tell you not to believe me. Don't make this another ideology, another dogma, or any of that. None of the words I say are absolutely true. It's language, so it's dual. So nothing what I'm saying is actually, showing you what I'm pointing out with my words. So just be mindful of that. We'll be talking about the importance of concentration and how important it is to be able to concentrate our minds on just one thing, because nowadays that's impossible. You're thinking about, okay, work and the kids and the money and the food and this person and that person, and it's impossible just to keep yourself centered and concentrated on what you need. And it actually makes it very difficult to live life in a meaningful and fulfilling way. We're going to be talking about perception and how perception is really all you know. You don't know anything outside of perception. And even if you stay open minded and you take other people's perceptions and integrate it into yours, you still only know your perception. Just a better version of what you knew, but not the same as what someone else showed you. Because again, they're using their words to try to show you their perspective. We're going to talk about the information and theory versus practice and technique. So I'm going to be giving you a lot of theory because it's language, so it's theory and information that you can use to try to use the techniques and practice in the information I give you, because if all you're doing is taking the information and the theory of the things I'm going to tell you, then it's going to be mind shattering when your life doesn't get any better and you're still feeling shitty and suffering, because information is needed to show you the possibilities, but you need to do the practice and the techniques to grow further in this work. Otherwise, you're just mentally masturbating. And while that's your ego loves it, you suffer in the end. So let's talk about taking things for granted. We take so much for granted. I mean, obviously, especially in the society we live in, so much is for granted. We can't even begin to comprehend it. But I'll be doing another video of it in the future. Obviously, like with all of these topics, it is just so insane what we take for granted, and all of the things we take way too serious. Life is supposed to be a game that you enjoy, where you do what you want, make the choices you want, live life the best you can, and have fun while you're doing it. Because at the end of it, what happens? You're gonna realize, man, I took it way too serious. None of it actually mattered in the end, in a meaningful way. Um, we're gonna talk about compassion and love, because the thing is I realize that I want to celebrate joy with those feeling joy, and I want to feel compassion to those feeling sad. Compassion helps you stop separating yourself from everyone else, because you can tell that there's nothing different from them. You're just like them, and you can feel pain and feel joy the same way. And it helps you get closer to unity, to oneness, as opposed to separating yourself. Um, Another topic we're going to go over is leadership, and how important it is to have not only follower skills, but leadership skills as well, because you can't be one without the other. And leadership is so important because you hold an example to everyone in your life, and you should. You should be responsible for how you want the world to be. You should express that yourself so that you can be that example. And maybe people see that radiance and want to love and learn just like that. Um, a big one is you're searching for love. You're chasing all of these things. You're chasing sex, you're chasing money, you're chasing relationships, you're chasing this, you're chasing that. You're always chasing. When are you not chasing? Especially you're chasing for survival. And the thing is you keep doing these things and you feel hollow. You feel terrible and hollow, and you can't find that love that you're searching for. And maybe you weren't aware that it was love, but that's all it was. And you chase these dopamine peaks thinking that that's the best it gets, but we need to stop indulging in that petty human bullshit and start actually going towards what's meaningful, and not all of these material things that we think helps us. In the end, why does someone else have to give you the love that you're looking for? Why can't you give yourself the love you're searching for? Even try it. Try loving yourself to the hardest. Be there for yourself always, and see how much that changes. When anytime you feel lack of love or alone or any of that, give yourself the love you desire. You don't need to go out to find it. It's already within you. Um, we're going to talk about life purpose and how to find your life purpose, because it was so hard for me. There were so many hobbies I indulged in that I loved. I loved making music. I love video games. I love cars. I love all of these things, typical. And every time I indulged in one of those hobbies, I was like, I want to make this my life. And really, I wasn't able to see how it was just a hobby and not my life purpose. And there was a reason why I couldn't just actually do what needed to be done, is because once it became serious and became something to cultivate, I realized it was a hobby I love, but not something I want to do for my life purpose. And once I realized that and started to figure out what my top priorities were that were non-negotiable, like love and truth and light, and I made sure that what was the best thing I could do, and it was help others and teach others while learning myself. It's a never ending journey. And the more I can teach, the more I can learn. The more I can learn, the more I can teach. So they go hand in hand. And that's what I plan to do and help you guys to do, is find your life purposes and how to make that actualized. We're going to talk about following your heart. Just follow your heart truly, It's going to make radical and intuitive decisions, and you might agree with it or not, but follow your heart, not your ego. When someone's on the side of a road and they're homeless, you know that feeling that wants to give them a couple bucks or help them out, or you're judgmental and you project on them like they're a lazy bum, they should just get a job, and you lack compassion. Whatever it is, see under it and see what your heart wants. That's the goodness inside of you that you should follow. I'm gonna take a drink real quick here. Remember, it's always important to hydrate. I'm going to talk about how beliefs are circular. You can believe whatever you want, but why do you believe that? And keep going down that cycle of why you believe that. And you're going to find out how circular it is, that it's either information you got off of an authority figure, it's something that you were told and indoctrinated with when you grew up, and you just took that as true and you never even thought to question it. So we're going to go over that in a separate video, obviously, but just see how your beliefs are circular. Another important topic is embodiment. I'm going to teach you all of these things, but if you don't change your behavior and change who you are, whether it's even just your mind, if you can change your mind, then you're learning. But if you can't do that, you're not learning. And then it's easy to understand this stuff once you get to a certain point and kind of get it intellectually and conceptually. But then when you have to actualize it and get it to a point where you just absolutely know with wisdom and love, it's the embodying that's the hardest. Because I can preach all these things, but if I don't embody that myself, then, what's the point? I'm telling you to be good and be loving and be this and that, and then I don't do it myself. That's ridiculous. So the information I'm going to give you is things to do or better ways to embody, and realize that I'm trying my best to do that. Because that's all we can do. We're not going to be perfect, but we can definitely introspect and see what we need to work on. And we're going to talk about the power of not knowing and the power of letting go. So the power of not knowing is so powerful because the ego has to know everything. Oh, it has to know everything. Anytime someone asks you a question, most of the time you'll just blurt out an answer thinking, not even knowing if it's true or not, but the ego has to know. So you're going to say, yeah, it's this, or no, it's that, even if you're not too sure. But think about how powerful it is to say, I don't know, because you don't really. Think about where we're at, and consciousness work that we're going through is, what do you really know? Do you really know what reality is? Do you really know what we're doing here? Do you know what is happening around us? Well, once you're so sure that you do, then there's no chance in you actually figuring it out. So we're going to be talking a lot about the power of not knowing, because the thing about that is the man who says he knows nothing knows something. We're also going to talk about letting go. Just try it. Just try it. Try it for simple stuff. Like, say someone cuts you off in traffic and like, oh, you asshole. Well, try letting go of that anger, of that backlash. Just see if you can. It's a powerful skill to cultivate. I'm going to talk more about how you create your own suffering and how you create all of your own suffering. There's nothing wrong with reality exactly how it is, only your ability to see it that way. And when you see it from a separated, finite consciousness, then of course, you're creating your own suffering, because your finite little self isn't having reality the way it wants it. And once you indulge in that behavior, you can't even get out of it. It's such a trap. But we'll get deeper into that and how you can stop creating your own suffering. And the thing is a lot of people say, yeah, I guess I could see how I'm creating some of my suffering. And no. Anything that is creating your suffering is your mind, no matter what's happening externally. I'm going to talk about how culture and society shape who we are, because just think about it for a little bit. Culture and society indoctrines us with so much work. They tell us what this is and what that isn't. Society tells you how you should act and how you shouldn't act. And it's just this social matrix inside of what actually is that blinds you and distracts you from actually being able to not only be actually happy, but also realize what's going on here. Um, we're going to talk about how the world around you shapes you and how you shape the world around you, because the way you perceive is how you see the world, and how you do that is how the world around you reacts to you. So when the world around you shapes you and you cut through that bullshit, cut through that matrix, that metaphorical matrix, then see deeper and you start to get to that point where you shape your world around you. I think I already talked about ideology, dogma, and belief, but that is huge, because everything you probably know is an ideology, a belief, or a dogma. And those are all, by definition, dual and not true, or maybe half true. Of course, if you put it under a certain paradigm, then yes, it is true or it isn't true. But that's not the point we're getting here. We're going down to the roots to see everything, the absolute, with no matter the circumstances around it. I talked about forgiveness and how powerful of a tool it is to be able to not only forgive others, but forgive yourself. Let go of those things. Accept what happened, accept yourself, forgive yourself, and love yourself. You don't know any better. You couldn't know any better than what you did. So why do you hold that so hard on yourself? Why can't you forgive yourself? Are you afraid that if you forgive yourself, that you're going to do it again? Because if you do, that's ridiculous. You're not going to do that again. Once you can accept what happened, learn from it, forgive yourself, let it go, and you're going to know intuitively not to do it again. So, we're going to be talking about how to stop being a victim. Oh man, there are so many people I know that are such a victim in their own life. Imagine being the main character in your own story and deciding to play victim. It's, oh, if the world wasn't this way, if the government didn't do this, if this didn't do this, then I would be happy. Such a victim mindset. It causes so much suffering. I hope you can see that. And we're going to talk about how to get out of that victim mentality and actually become the creator of your own life instead of just wallow and sitting in your own fear and worry and sadness and anger. And we'll get past that. I'm going to talk about responsibilities in your life. So it's a weird way to see it, because of course you have responsibilities in your life, but anything that happens in your life is your responsibility and you get to choose what to do with it. So say people are arguing that you have no idea who they are, you're out on the street, whatever, and they're arguing, that happened in your perception. So it is your responsibility to not necessarily do something, but take responsibility for anything that happens in your life, no matter who it is, where you are, whatever. If something happens in your life, don't blame it and project it onto other people where, well, that's her problem, that's his problem. Well, even if it is, it happened in a way that it's in your life. So you do have responsibility to do something or do nothing about it. Whatever you do, realize that that's a choice to make. Um, a good one is that this stuff is like therapy on crack. This work that we're doing here goes so much deeper than therapy because therapy works under a limited paradigm. And we're not going to do that here. We're going to get down to everything. We're going to take away all the paradigms. We're going to adopt new paradigms. And then we're going to throw those away, no matter how juicy they are. And we're going to throw those ones away. And we're going to throw it all away. But we need to adopt some better paradigms before we can get down to that absolute mentality. So, and those non-dual teachings, etc. So, don't have to believe me on that, but I've done this work for a long time, and I've realized that no amount of therapy could have gotten me to where I am now in my development. It could have helped a lot. I'm not saying don't go to therapy. Therapy is an amazing tool to help fix some problems. But therapy is also super expensive. And this stuff yields even more results than therapy, which sounds ridiculous to say, but of course, don't believe me, but try it out for yourself. Don't shut yourself off from it just because it sounds radical. We're going to talk about people pleasing and loneliness. Oh man, how many people do you know that people please and are so lonely? I know plenty of people who do that. And the thing is it's such a outward grasp and search for not only some people please because they don't want others to feel how they felt. And that's not really up to you. You don't get to make that decision in other people's life, even though you may know the most effective way to avoid circumstances like that. It's not your choice. And it can cause you a lot of suffering. The biggest thing with people pleasing is, are you someone who's super loving and you love with all your heart and you're still wondering, look, I'm a good person. I love with all my heart. Why does life suck? Why do people fuck me over, etc.? It's because you're not balancing the wisdom with the love, because all there is love. But if you don't balance it with wisdom, then you're going to hurt yourself and you're going to hurt others. So instead of loving blindly, it's okay to love unconditionally. But when you love blindly without balancing it with the wisdom, you're just doing the best you can with what you know, then it's going to happen that you're going to be a good person who loves deeply and helps people and still have a shitty life. So be aware of that. We're going to talk about original thinking and authority. How much original thinking have you done in your life? How much thinking have you done that wasn't someone else's? Have you ever sat down there and thought original thoughts? Or do you take other people's thinking, like it, and you're like, that's good thinking. I'm going to take that. That's my thinking now. And then you parrot that off to everyone else? Interesting, because that plays strongly to authority. And if you let authority take over everything, then you're going to sit at the bottom in pain. Because authority is not truth. It is someone who has been deemed credible by whoever, and that gives them the power to indoctrinate you with more information that they believe from their own thinking. And that can be very bad. That can be very evil. Again, don't agree with me, don't believe me, or agree with me and believe me, but I suggest you take this information, take some of the topics I've worked on, stay tuned for more information that I release, but check it out for yourself. That's all that you need to do. Try to see it for yourself. And it's not something that's going to happen easy. This is not a get rich quick scheme. This isn't something that takes 5 minutes and you're done for the rest of your life after you do it. No, this is a lifelong journey. And the more you put into it, the more results you're going to get out of it. So remember that. I'm going to talk about the tricks of the mind and the ego. Oh, the mind and the ego, they're so tricky. Not only do they have the best defense mechanism, which is distracting you, which is telling you when you do or don't like something, because honestly, ego is probably everything you are. What you like, what you don't like, all for survival. What you need to do for your friends, for your self-image, for your insecurities, for all of these things, all these facets. Remember how tricky it is. Remember how self-deceived you can trick yourself without even knowing it. And when you finally realize how much you were tricking yourself, you go, oh my gosh, sneaky. So I think that's everything I wanted to cover. So please like it, dislike it, doesn't matter. Comment something loving or comment what you want to see next. Comment something hateful. It doesn't matter. I'm expressing myself. I expect you to express yourself as well, because obviously this is very counterintuitive and abstract material. So of course there's going to be a lot of egos out there that reject it, call it devilry, when in fact they're doing that to themselves. So subscribe and share to others so that even if you don't like it, other people can see it and maybe they'll like it. So that whoever can go through this work and wants to go on this journey with me can be helped the most. Um, like I said in part one, I don't care about the money or any of that. I care about helping others. So, of course, money is nice, but the thing is the only thing money's going to do for me is give me more time to work on this. So that's why I have a Patreon. If you want to go donate, go ahead. But strictly the Patreon is so that if enough people decide that they like my content, because I'm not going to run ads or sponsorships or any of that. A lot of this $1 million information I'm just going to be handing out for free. So if you like it, go ahead and donate, but don't ever feel obligated to. And also realize that the only reason I'm have a Patreon is for that reason, that if this gets big, that I would be able to do this more often because I have a full-time job. I have responsibilities and priorities to take, and so I'm going to try balancing my life and helping everyone else that I can while I'm doing it. So thank you for coming. If you made it this far, holy crap, thank you. That's a lot. I don't care who you are. I love you. Stay tuned for the next episode. Should be coming out shortly. That's it.